So I'm Luciano Perondi. I work at this tentative encoding with Antonio Perri, who is a linguist, and with Daniele Capo, who worked above all on the informatica side. I'm specialized on information design and typography. So we made a team to make this attempt of encoding all. This is a speculative hypothesis on coding nonlinear script such as Mesoamerican writing systems. We wanted to understand if it is possible to codify a nonlinear script. Then I will show something about Aztec writing system, so that I think that probably most of you knows how it works, but probably not everybody. So I will explain something about Aztec writing system. This is Aztec because Codex Mendoza is an Aztec code, but there are several other Mesoamerican writing systems. They work in a similar way. Part Mayan, they are mostly non-linear. In dealing with pictorial systems, we argued elsewhere that it should be taken into account from a semiotic point of view that any conic representation is at least bidimensional. And even that in some pictographic tests, there could be a coded third dimension, namely the sequence of visual layer of superposed plateaus obtained by relative dimensional contrast in described surface. In our opinion, it's possible to show sets of relevant basic graphic elements in Aztec writing, showing a systematic correspondence both with specific visual variables and with linguistic contents. More specifically, it's possible to find that the overall organization of visual units corresponds to a broad semantic context linguistically expressed. Specifically, folio 2 recto of Codex Mendoza is a prominent example of the resources visually encoded by images, glyphs, since it is structured as an historical and geographical account based on a specific spatial arrangement of signs. This page of Codex Mendoza can be analyzed at an entactic level and at a synsemic level. Both are relevant semantically and linguistically. So we have also some phonological information coded in the arrangement of glyphs. This is the entactic level. It means the local arrangement of glyphs. For example, this can be translated this way. Antonio Perri made all the translation of the glyphs and all the page, and we coded his translation. So as you can see, the glyphs is made by several elements that combined make a bigger glyph, an agglutinated glyph. And this is possible also due to the nature of Nahuatl, which is the language on which is based the writing system we are dealing with. So as you can see, the name of this guy is a combination of different elements, and the things that this guy do are relevant to how to say, for example, he has some hairstyle or some white dress, some naked food. He's sitting on a yellow, so how to say, so all the elements here inside, for example, he says precious things, all the elements here inside has a meaning and can be translated and read as a linear text. Just all the elements are arranged in a non-linear way. The second level is the systemic level, is the global arrangement, and it's the macro arrangement in the page. For example, the disposition of elements, the orientation of these elements. You see, for example, all these warriors and Tenochtitlan are looking at the figure in the center. They are in a space divided in 4 by water and so on. And also the hierarchical organization is part of this systemic level. For example, the water are inside the specific portion of the landscape, sectioned by water, and they in turn are surrounding Tenochtitlan, and all of them look at the war of Tenochca in the center. Okay. Our hypothesis is that we may use code both entactic level and systemic level. Obviously, this last level it's possible with editing software, but as a speculative hypothesis, we coded it anyway, just to see if it was possible to code also the space arrangement in some way. Since the structure of this writing system is mapped on to the agglutinative nature of languages transcribed, Unicode encoding on a character by character basis would result in a generation of thousands of characters in all possible combinations, in a way similar to that of Korean Hangul, but even bigger. Moreover, it would not solve the problem of giving a random linguistic value to spatial arrangement of elements units. So this would be lost. And this is important in Mesoamerican writing. So if you take away the space arrangement, you don't understand something that it's written. By the way, to make this encoding, we need things that still does not exist or exist in part in Unicode standard. For example, a counter, 7 independent layers for graphic attribute, for color, orientation, value, texture, relative position, number, and shape, and 3 systemic composition layers for absolute orientation, absolute position, and absolute size. This is the basic structure of our encoding. So we have a part dedicated to the synsemiya, to the general organization. And we have a layer for orientation, a layer for size, a layer for position, with some sub-variables. And then the 7 layers for defining the single unit of a glyph. And then, obviously, the rule for entaxis more or less are inspired by Bertin visual variables, but obviously it's just something to start with. It's possible to use other different set of variables. It's important to have shape, color, texture, and so on, because all these things may have a meaning and also a phonological transcription in Nahuatl. So it's important to have all these elements. Without them, something would be lost. I think I repeat. Okay. Okay. This is an example of organization. How it is used, the layer for the organization. So we made an analysis of the page of the artifact. In this page, there is a chronological frame. These are 51 years that can be read one by one or by reading the year at the beginning and at the end of the count, and above all, signaling the year to read when Aztec calendric century of 52 years ends. This is an important glyph. Obviously, the reading process is more similar to infographics or consulting a phone directory or using a graphic interface, but all these things are properly written, as in, what to say, you don't, for example, you don't need in any case to read all the sequence of years, but you can if you want. They are stored in the page in some way. So this is the translation of the border. The year to read for the first time, the old Mexican called Tenochca did the binding of the years in the water, the lagoon of Tenochtitlan. And this is how it can be encoded. For example, this is the structure. Here it's defined the structure. So there is something that goes around from upper left counterclockwise. And here there are the markers for the single glyphs divided into units. For example, this is a year. And you see, for example, the color. Don't ask me to pronounce it because I don't know exactly how to do. By the way, it's part of the word. The word here it's the word for turquoise. So, for example, this is the year 2 house, and so we have a house and we have 2. They are one above the other, and they are inside the ear, and they are blue, obviously, because they are ear. And for example, sometimes this object, this is the tool they use to turn on fire, and marks the beginning of the Aztec century. The color of this object, it's not blue, usually is brown, but when you use in blue, you pronounce, this is the pronunciation, and inside the word there is the color blue, the first part you see, and it's inside here, and obviously color would be important notation for describing this glyph and changes the meaning and also the phonetics. This is due to the agglutinative nature of Nahual. Maybe I already said. By the way, we coded also, for example, there is some. Include also the space divided in 4 by water. This is the space, the geographical space denoted in the text. And all the drawing has a meaning. I mean, for example, also the texture. If you see the waving edge of the water is red apano, that means flowing waters. And if you don't represent the texture, you don't code an information that is in the text. It has a linguistic value, this information. By the way, this is the basic structure. So you draw a basic structure where you can put elements and you can arrange elements. For example, in the center, you put the big eagle. This is the translation of this big eagle. That stay on the cactus nopali, and which is on the big stone and so on. And this is the codification of the text. If you see, you have the same element that we found in Tenochtitlan, the priest that was here on the side, on this side, and then I will see. Then we will see. All these things together make a sort of a sentence. And you see, this is Tenochtitlan. You see that he has a name which is similar to Tenochtitlan, which is the name of the city. Okay, we're almost finished. Here we have another arrangement of the space. This is the space is divided in 4 by water, and in this space we have the noble warrior Red Rabbit, the noble warrior Little Maggie, and the noble warrior Footbell, and they are around Tenochtitlan, and they how to say, they look at the Aztec war, which is this shield. For example, okay, we can see Tenochtitlan. This is the codification of Tenochtitlan of the single character. You see that, for example, here he speaks, but this kind of speak is speaking saying precious things. And he says blue things. I mean, speaking preciously contains the color blue, because this object is not always and necessarily blue. It changes color and changes also the linguistic structure. This is another warrior. We coded everything. Now I have just 20 minutes. I cannot show everything. I just show some other part of the manuscript. Every time there is a systemic arrangement, how elements are arranged, one against the other, on the low side from the left to right and so on. And then we code the single units. Obviously, I can explode all this, and this will be released after the conference, obviously. The complete text with all the translation and all the codification. Obviously, is a speculative hypothesis. I know that, and the language, the system we used is needs to be fixed, and it's probably not completely consistent. But by the way, it was important for us to understand that this was possible, and in some way efficient, and it may be interesting for analyzing also not just Mesoamerican writing system, but also information design artifacts and so on that may have a similar structure. Obviously, here you have a case where the linguistic elements and the graphic elements collapse, and it's a very interesting case. The next things we will do, we will work on Codex Tudela, which is another code, another codex, and we will try to make the same systematic analysis and notation, codification. Okay.
Thank you. So we have time for one question, and I already have one question online, so please. Yes.
Yes, I have one question about the limitations of Unicode that you mentioned. I'd be curious to know to what extent you think you could automate stuff, generate Unicode characters directly, and to what extent truly inherent Unicode limitations are preventing you from going as far as you would like to.
Are you asking if, I mean, obviously this is a speculative hypothesis, okay. What we think the real limitation in Unicode in coding this page is about arrangement, because arrangement needs something specific, because object are not just described in their shape and their feature in their characteristic, and they are not unit. They are space and elements that stays in space. We need to probably the single glyphs can be composed also with today's Unicode codification, for example, for emoji, more or less. Okay, we need some more layer because some elements are really important, apart color, texture, and so on. We need, but the problem is that of arrangement, because if you compose an image in a different way, the meaning is different. I mean, okay, and so I don't know if you see, we need to put elements in some place and in some order, and this order may change from image to image. It's you can imagine it's a sort of graph. Probably the exact position maybe is not so important, but it's important the relation between elements, and this relation between elements is not enough described in Unicode. I'm sorry if I can explain everything, because the basic structure of this was done by Daniele Capo, and he's the informatic in this. But more or less, the problem was this one. There was not enough elements to describe completely in a consistent way how to arrange elements in space. By the way, I think that if someday will be useful for Unicode to code also this element, maybe Aztec is not so important, but maybe for other reason, as it was important for emoji, and can be used for Aztec. Probably we will have some, the possibility of encoding also this part of the Mesoamerican writing system. Unfortunately, they are very interesting system, as it's probably the only case where yes, picture and script are completely collapsed. They are one thing, and it's really important to study them, but unfortunately they're not more used, and so there is not so much interest maybe in coding also these languages. I would like that someday somebody.
I have a question online. So it's from Helen McGowan. I'm interested in the process of reading. In terms of how the page is localized. Is there only one way of localizing?
No, there are
fixed linearity, or does each reader find a different route to the same meaning?
There is the same meaning and the same possible. Is how to read a phone register. So you don't need to read anything, but anything you can see, you can read, and you can read consistently. I mean, tenoxin is always tenoxin, but sometimes you may have a tenoxin before. Depends on. This is the translation Antonio made. Sometimes you can read tenoxin before the warriors that surround him, or sometimes you can read the warriors surround tenoxin. Depends on how you read. It's as I said, something more similar to infographics or phone register or an interface where you decide your path, but every information is consistent inside. You cannot how to say mistake, because everything has a semantic and phonological value. I mean, you can also read the same. There are, in this case, no, but there are some glyphs that can be read in two ways, because they can be read in active and passive way, and graphically there is no difference. But they are consistent. Everybody would read the same things.
Thank you very much.